afterward. Hi, everybody. It's Deirdre Fay. And you know what? I'm so lucky to be with Janina Fisher, who I adore and have known for years. Janina's been a mentor of mine since the early days when I joined the trauma center. And she has taught me, supervised me, guided me, befriended me.
Years.
I know. I feel so lucky. What a gift.
I know. It's so great.
And you are now doing something that I want everybody to know about, which is this free webinar coming up. They get a chance to learn from you. And this is open to clients, people, professionals, the whole gamut, right?
Human beings.
Every being, right? Because what you're talking about is so important. It's about threat and how right now, and we are all kind of overloaded with everything. So, Janina, what's the title of the webinar?
The title, I love the title. The title is Tigers Running Wild. Right? And it's a metaphor for this sense that in my lifetime we've never had before of there's threat everywhere. So we have the threat of the virus. We have the threat of police brutality. We have the threat of demonstrations and riots. We have the threat of not knowing if our neighbor or the person we're walking past on the street is a danger to us. It's not something that we've ever had to worry about, right?
Right.
Usually we go out for a walk, we go out for a run, and we don't think that person isn't wearing a mask. Right, that person isn't keeping social distance.
It is a whole different world.
It is. And I'm really likening it more to what it's felt like for people who live in war-torn countries, in countries where there's active terrorism day in, day out. Because that's really what we're dealing with right now.
It's pretty incredible, right? You never know where the threat is coming from.
Exactly. But you know it's there.
Oh God, so we're always on hyper alert.
Exactly. So I call it the gorilla virus, the Godzilla virus. And I'm looking out at my street right now, and I always say, the Godzilla virus could be going up and down our street as we speak. Right. And we all live under that sense of threat. Some of us who are in more high risk categories obviously live with a greater sense of threat.
But then it's also, is that true, Janina, that it's not just the people in the high risk, it's everybody's kind of amped up a layer.
Absolutely. And the layers of fear and worry. Right? So if you're not worried about the virus, you might be worried about paying your electric bill. You might be worried about your son, daughter, husband, wife going out to work. And there's so many, and the thing is, we've all had anxiety. Anxiety is part of the human condition, but we haven't had a situation where we actually were in danger.
And then those people who have early traumas, were caught in early dangerous situations, this is like magnifying it for them.
Well, what's interesting is it seems to be doing one of two things. Some trauma survivors say to me, "This isn't a big deal."
Been there, done that, right?
The big whoop.
Wow, incredible.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
And then, of course, some are terrified, or the other very common place that people with previous trauma are left is they feel the painful isolation. And of I'm all alone in a dangerous world. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Right. And then there are those people who in lockdown period, certainly now as it's opening up, but here you are locked down in relationships, some that weren't that comfortable or easy or really even bad relationships.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the rate of domestic violence apparently has gone way up, which is just, imagine if you're a child in a very, in a violent or simply a conflictual family environment. And now, under stress, everyone is crowded together. It just seems like, it's like lighting a match
Right.
on a fire.
So you're going to be addressing this in the webinar.
Right. And I should say, because somebody wrote me over the weekend to say, are you going to be scary the whole time? So I said, no, I promise. I simply want to give voice to what I think so many people are feeling.
Right.
But actually what I want to use the webinar for is to help people befriend their bodies as an ally at the time, right? We're responding to threat at a body level.
Yes.
Right? Without doubt. And we can use that if we can befriend the body, if we can help it a little bit more, we will live with less fear. And my goal is to help us all have more resources and less fear. So, for example, there's a lot of research that shows that stress compromises the immune system.
Right.
This is not a time in history when any of us want to have a compromised immune system. So that's another reason to befriend the body, is because we have to give our immune systems tender, loving care, right?
So one of the things I've always known about you, Janina, is that you're such a hopeful person. So you are going to be highlighting the complications of our threat system being so activated. But like your person asked, are we being left in it? And that what you have always done is helped us orient toward how we can resolve that or move forward or not be stuck in that painful place.
Absolutely. And research also shows that quarantining, not specified whether self or imposed, but quarantining can have long-term negative effects. We want to make sure that doesn't happen. Right? And one way to do that is to use the mind and body to help us find some ways to be at peace in not every moment. That would be unrealistic, but to have more peace, more sense of well-being.
That sounds so important, especially when you're saying that lockdown has these negative effects long term. People feeling more and more isolated. The threat system, when it's activated over time, just gets in a certain groove, and then it's harder to calm ourselves down and move out of it.
Or we get kind of burned out and we're in depressive, parasympathetic states, which is not something any of us wants long term. We want to say that was a terrible period in our lives, but now we have new life to live.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, Janina, what I'm loving is that this free webinar is actually an introduction to the course that you're going to lead.
Yeah.
So it's really important for people to just come and get the free course as much as they can, to absorb it, take it in, learn as much. And if that's all they need, that's perfect.
Right.
but you have always had such a wealth of knowledge and helped me and helped so many others just continue to deepen and expand and explore. And personally, I love that that's what you're going to do, is make yourself even more accessible to all of us.
Right. And I'm excited about that too, because one thing about this crisis, we literally are all in it together. You know, that's
Right.
so different from what we usually work with. We usually are working with a child, the experience of being a child in a frightening world. Not
Right.
we and our clients and our friends and our families are all together in this very threatening situation.
Mm-hmm. How long is the course going to be? And
So the course is going to be 5 2-hour modules. And I'm happy to say that it's going to be very interactive. So,
oh, great.
yeah, so it's not just going to be listening to me for 2 hours, 5 times in a row. There's going to be, I'll do a short presentation each time, and then we'll have almost an hour for discussion, questions, because I find that people are hungry for conversation.
Right.
We all are, and it's lovely. Today I got a really helpful email saying, "Hey, there's all this talk about helping clients. Could you talk about helping therapists?" Right. And I thought, what a really important reminder.
Right. I'm so glad you bring that up, because I did, occasionally I do some research online on our list. And I think the last one we did, we had over 2,500 people respond. And many of them, I can't remember the percentage, but so many were therapists saying, oh my gosh, how do I do this? How do I adjust in this world? How do I actually deal with my own stress and everybody else's at the same time?
Mm-hmm. Right. And then what do you do when your food order is being delivered in the middle of your client session?
Oh my God, I never thought about that. Right.
It's a whole new
Or your kids
world.
are having a meltdown.
Absolutely. One of my colleagues in DC had her dog barking throughout the session. Right. So as she said, we're all more transparent, but I think that's good. I think since we're all going through it together, let's not pretend that we're not.
Say more about that. Why you think it's good that everything's a little more transparent?
Because I think it's very hard to be in the client role.
Right.
Right, to be in the role of somebody who's struggling, someone who needs help, someone who's vulnerable. And of course, in that very moment, the therapist could be vulnerable. The therapist might need help. The therapist might be struggling. But in the context of psychotherapy, we're behind that screen of therapeutic neutrality. And there isn't a shared experience in that way. Whereas if the dog is barking, if the client's children are running in and out, we're both in real life.
Right. And you think that really enhances the healing?
We'll see. I think what it does is it's kind of it's a great leveler. We're all human beings.
Yes.
We're all human beings doing the best we can. And rather than the therapist has it all together.
Right. Reminds me of what Chris Germer and Kristen Neff talk about our common humanity.
Right.
Is that there's, and actually, as I think about it, that probably works really well for mentalizing for both sides, especially, in the old days, we did psychotherapy. The therapist was behind the wall, as you said. But with mentalizing, where the client learns, oh, there's another person over there
Right.
And that has a separate mind. And how do I include that? And so collaboration is developed and enhanced.
Right. Right. And a little transparency helps people to mentalize more accurately. You know, I always remember a quote from Giovanni Liotti, who talks about early traumatic attachment leaving behind the child's sense of destructive intentions in the mind of the other. Right? So what is my client assuming I'm feeling? The assumption is that I have destructive intentions.
Right.
If I'm a little more transparent, I don't mean that I have to spill my guts, but if I'm more real, more transparent, and I think that's actually been one of the things that's been very special about your work, Deirdre, is that level of transparency that you and authenticity that you bring to your work.
No.
And this situation is forcing all of us to be a little more transparent.
Well, I think that's true. I for me anyway, I don't know if it's true for everybody, but knowing how important it is that we're all in the same boat together. We're just maybe we are a few steps ahead. Like Bowlby says, we're maybe a little older and a little wiser, but that doesn't mean that we're still not grappling with the human condition,
Right.
which is we suffer.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. So what I want to do in this webinar is to help people find ways to suffer less, to be with what's happening in a way that feels less like suffering and more like experience.
Incredible. Well, it's a really wonderful opportunity. I mean, I know that you teach all over the world anyway, but one of the things I love about not being able to travel, and maybe this is selfish that you can't travel, is now you're going to be online with us. So
I know
much more access. Many more of us can learn and grow and develop with you.
Absolutely. I should actually be in England right this moment, or as it was scheduled, but I'm so pleased that I'm here, and I think it's also showing that they're all again, you've done this for years. There are lots of different ways that we can be helpful to people. Online is a really new idea, although you've been doing it for years. Shorter pieces rather than going to a 3-day conference or a 2-day workshop. 2 hours out of a therapist's day or out of a human being's day may be more practical, easier, and actually more helpful, because sometimes I come away from those big conferences just crammed with information, not sure really how to use it, as opposed to getting a bite or two and being able to make use of it.
Right. I personally love that, because I need to take a little bit in and digest it and integrate it. And I love that what you're going to be doing is having conversations so people can absorb and take things in their own way, in their own time.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to too. Yeah.
Well, Janina, I know you're swamped, so I don't want to take up more of your time, but I'm going to post the link for people to register.
Wonderful.
And so they can take advantage of it and just be in the free webinar, take it in, absorb it, have a chance to really learn from you and grow. And then if they want more, the beautiful thing is you're offering more. So that's a thrill.
And I forgot to tell you this. I'm very excited. My new book is coming out in October.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's
Oh,
so
yeah,
great.
I hadn't even told you. So it's going to be a workbook called Transforming the Living Legacy of Trauma.
Oh, Janina, that's
And
so
heaven knows we're living it now.
right.
So
Perfect. Oh, you guys, it's going to be awesome to have that as well. But to be able to learn from you and to change our suffering into something that's much more easy to live with. It's
right.
perfect. It's so in alignment with what I'm about and so why I'm so grateful. I've known you all these years. So
I know it's so good to see you.
it's dynamite.
Amen.
Well, thank you. And I know, and people can post as much as they want and we can answer, and I'll do my best to answer and put the questions and send them on to you, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Wonderful.
Janina.
Thanks. Take care. Be safe, everybody.